Okay. God dang, it's been a while since I've done one of these. I haven't even picked up a reaction. I'm probably gonna do two of these back to back, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. Hey, what's up, baby, and welcome to something that's actually a little bit new. As you can see, this is not Seth the Programmer. It's not Shonen Showdown. It is a sarcastic chorus. This is basically that 7 Deadly Sins video I was talking about a while ago that I said I was going to react to. I watched this video, I don't even remember how long ago, so I don't remember everything. But I remember it fleshed out everything so wrong with a lot of animes, and the reason why people are going to look at you like every single time you say you watch anime, it's because of this specific anime, 7 Deadly Sins. This anime had some of its craziest and coolest moments in anime history. I remember when I was like a really little kid, I would always be watching 7 Deadly Sins. I watched it repeatedly because it was like, oh, that's so cool, that's funny. And now I watch it with with all the new seasons, especially now, like all the later seasons. It is one of the worst animes I have ever watched, and maybe that's just because I wasn't as into anime. I wasn't matured as an anime fan now. Now I watch Overflow.
Look,
there we
shonen
go.
Anime sucks at romance. But
That's a
Nanatsu
fact.
no Taizai deserves an award for making every ship a train wreck. Because why not? Have a main character who molests the girl he's known since she was born.
Yep.
Or have a grown man.
That's a
bang
great...
girl
You know, I thought he was going to ease us into it because I don't remember this video like all the way through. That's definitely a way to start it, you know, molesting the girl that you've known since birth multiple times, actually, by the way. Yeah, he's watched her be born multiple times. Yeah, damn, he came in swinging.
that looks like she's 12. Every major relationship in this show is a different kind of fucked up.
Yep,
It is desperately
especially
trying
in the
to explain
manga.
Why knowing your future wife when she's a toddler is kosher and not grooming. Like, one of these ships would have been bad, but because anime, the fandom will just choose to ignore it. With
Absolutely,
every
that's
main
fandom in a
character
nutshell.
doing it, I think
I know I'm already pausing like crazy. It's only 37 seconds in, I know. Sue me. Another trope I hate seeing in anime is, why is there always, you know how I have a fruit right here? Imagine this was a grape. And I'm pretty sure you started to get the memo. Why is there so much fruit in anime? I don't understand, especially in isekai. It is so crazy. It's like every other thing has to be involved with fruit. Fruit constantly. Peace how I'm saying fruit, because I can't say the actual word unless I want this video to get demonetized, and I'm not even monetized.
that's a sign to step back, ignore the fights that are awesome, and figure out what's going on here. Is it really as bad as it looks? The
Worse.
answer is yes. Nanatsu no Taizai, or the 7 Deadly Sins in English, is
Yes,
a
the
story about a
7
bunch
Deadly
of knights
Sins.
who are framed for murder and have to get the band back together to save the kingdom. Taking place in fantasy England, this medieval times ripoff is centered around the misadventures of the Sins as they have epic fights, train, and grow up their employees. This whole anime,
Like, it's so
to its
crazy.
credit, knows how to deliver hype moments. I'm not going to pretend this show doesn't have any merits. Honestly, if you strip out all the problematic stuff, some of these ships would actually be pretty decent with one great one.
Yep,
Unfortunately,
I know,
you can't
right?
ignore this. So let's just talk about the 7 elephants in the room. First ship, Meliodas and Elizabeth. Meliodas is a 3,000-year-old demon who looks like a jack toddler. Elizabeth is the 16-year-old adopted daughter of the king, and the one who kicks off the plot by trying to reunite the Sins. Their relationship is complicated, with a lot of backstory.
Okay. Another thing that I want to mention is, why is the first episode of 7 Deadly Sins so trash? It's a decent opener, because it did keep me watching, and obviously it kept a lot of people watching back then. But I remember even back then when I rewatched 7 Deadly Sins, I skipped the first episode because it was just so bad to me. I hated watching it. It was like certain Sword Art episodes, like Sword Art, I don't even rewatch the first episode. I don't even rewatch the first few episodes if I ever go back to Sword Art. It's just like it's just it doesn't feel like a good opener. And maybe that's just a lot of first episodes because you already know how it gets fleshed out, so you don't want to see it repeat. You just want to see the other moments that make you feel make you feel for the anime. Sorry for the burp, but let's get back to it.
Well, you need none of it to understand that this is wrong. Yeah, just getting this out of the way. Meliodas pretends to be an idiot when he's actually a badass. So the show decided that he needed a thing to be funny, to have a quirk. And that quirk is him sexually harassing Elizabeth.
Not harassing,
constantly.
assaulting.
Meliodas is doing
Assaulting.
this from jump.
Let's
She collapses at his door,
let's be real.
and the first thing he does is grope her chest. Because
An unconscious girl, by the way, that he
funny.
doesn't know who
Now,
it is.
This is a very common thing in Japan. Different
Very.
cultures, different standards, massive real-world problem in the country. And Meliodas is doing it constantly, with Elizabeth never enjoying it, never consenting to it, and her falling in love with him later doesn't make it better. There is
Makes it
no
that much worse.
real explanation for why Meliodas is doing this. At least when most
It's like,
other
look at
edgy
this.
sex comedies
Bro,
do
he's
this shit,
exactly
it's
where I
framed
want to
as an
be.
accident. Slipping on banana peels, landing in cleavage, real lowbrow shtick. It's not great, but at the very least, they pretend
It's
to
an
give it
accident.
an excuse.
It's an
to
it's
give
accidental.
the main character an out. Here, though, it's just Meliodas molesting his employee. It's intentional. He
Casually,
doesn't do
constantly.
this to anyone else. Not to his female teammates Merlin or Diane, not to any of the other women they meet along the way. All of this is saved exclusively for her, the sheltered princess who doesn't even realize when he's taking advantage of her. And this happens to Elizabeth because she's his secret soulmate, and that just makes him entitled to her.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
let's
definitely
talk
not
about
how that works.
backstory now. See, Elizabeth isn't
yes.
just a princess. She's actually the reincarnation of Meliodas' true love, Elizabeth. Very convenient. Thousands of years ago, there was a great war between the demons and the goddesses, which is just
Is that ambiance? I thought somebody outside my door was like yelling and laughing, and I'm like, who is? I was like, who is here? I should be alone. But like, that's the ambiance. I know, survival instincts on zero. You hear people laughing downstairs in a building that you're supposed to be alone in an established area, and you just sit in your room watching anime videos. I know, great survival instincts. Continue.
a pretentious way of saying angels. Elizabeth was the daughter of the angels' leader. Meliodas was the son of the demon lord. They fell in love and would try to stop the conflict. And it worked. Just long enough for the parents to agree to stop
kill
trying
him.
to kill each other so that they can punish their children. Elizabeth
Crazy.
was cursed with reincarnation to forever be reborn a new person with no memory of their previous lives, while Meliodas was cursed with eternal life, doomed to spend eternity watching Elizabeth die.
Crazy.
As when they meet, Elizabeth's memories eventually return, but only for 3 days. And in that brief window, they can finally be reunited before being ripped apart again. As after the time limit, Elizabeth would always die a horrific death in front of her lover. This is why Meliodas is solely interested in her, despite the fact that when she's reincarnated, she's often a different person with a slightly different personality. But like everything in this show, it has to be tinged with a pointless creep factor. Meliodas met this version of Elizabeth as a baby, seconds after losing his previous version. She was killed by a demon, and Meliodas leveled a city over it.
Yep.
So he's a little bit raw from the whole experience, refusing to let anyone touch his baby wife, referring to her as his woman.
Yep.
Thankfully, though, for my sanity, he gives Liz over to the king, who raises Elizabeth as his own daughter, which is a way better workaround than having Meliodas
Raise her.
his future baby.
Yes,
mama.
if he was
But
to
here's
raise
the
his
weird
wife, that
part
would have been
could have
actually
easily been
ridiculous.
Cut. Meliodas is
Just
still
like the rest of the anime.
like a lot.
I
He
know.
didn't hand her over and dip for 16 years. Meliodas formed the 7 deadly sins, and they were based out of the capital, with him spending his downtime acting as her bodyguard. Elizabeth grows to
terrible.
be incredibly attached to Meliodas, being distraught whenever he left for a mission. Some definite Twilight vibes going on around here. The only reason he dips out on her is because he got framed for the only murder he didn't commit. Then, when
Funny.
they meet again 10 years later, when Elizabeth is finally 16,
Which is
the
worse.
first thing he does is grope her chest. And he didn't know she had convenient amnesia. So as far as he was concerned, she was going to wake up to a family friend assaulting her and he was just cool with that.
Yep.
There is a decent relationship buried underneath all of this bullshit. But altogether, you can't
It's
ignore
not.
it. And it was a choice to add in all of this. Him knowing her as a child adds nothing. There's a small amount of intrigue in like, who is this baby? When we get flashbacks of this initially. But remove that, nothing. This comedy isn't funny, and it doesn't add to either of their characters. Elizabeth's concerns in telling Meliodas to stop touching her is never treated seriously.
Okay. This is a good time to pause. I'll let it run for a little bit. Yes. I'm so glad that Meliodas handed her over to the king. Doesn't make it any better that he's like, I want to be her bodyguard. Yeah, this... And I would love to be my girlfriend's bed, but we don't always get what we want. I'm single, by the way. This man Meliodas is just like, it's so bad that he constantly, it's not, I like how he says harassment. It's definitely assault. Somebody telling you to stop touching them constantly while you're groping them is assault. It's definitely assault. It's right on. It's like you can't call it fruit because of the fact that you're not going all the way, but you're doing stuff that you definitely need consent for. You don't just go up to somebody and do it. I'm pretty sure you don't walk up to some lady at Walmart and just grab her breast and just, get to see. As you know, like, look at my form, it's completely off. I don't know what I'm doing because I've never been there. But let's continue with the video. Honestly, I hate Liz. I'm not gonna lie. The entire time I watched this anime, I wanted her to die because she is so annoying.
Nor does it ever lead to character growth
Like,
for either of them.
I really
like
wanted Liz to
Elizabeth
die.
in both her unaware state and when she remembers her past. As in the first, she's learning to trust her friends and to believe in them, on top of angsting over the fact that she might be Meliodas' replacement for Liz, but still carrying on anyway. But in spite of all the potential positives, what we're left with is an unnecessary, very convoluted situation.
I just thought about that. So that dude, what is his name? Kane? That old man that was talking to Liz and he told Elizabeth about Liz. Liz learned that Meliodas was using her as a replacement for his old wife. And she's just stuck around for it. This is like when people, what is it called? Stockholm Syndrome, where the abused stay with their abusers. The victims stay with their abusers because they grow attached to them. That's crazy.
Trying to explain why Meliodas banged this child that he helped raise, and why that is totally okay. And you know what? I think this show could maybe have gotten away with this. Japan is Japan.
Yep.
Weebs will give anything a pass and call it art.
100%.
However, Meliodas is banging someone he met when they were a child, and it isn't an anomaly. It's the norm.
Constantly. Yep. King and Diane.
This is King and Diane. King is the fairy king who pretends to look like an ugly bastard. Diane is a giantess who was simping for Meliodas, which blinded her to kings. Now these two are a decent couple, with again unnecessary creepy vibes.
Very, very terrible backstory.
Raised Diane and then fell in love with her when she was a toddler.
Yep.
Just because. Backstory. So, King, aka Harlequin, is the fairy king.
And why did he
Protector
do
of the
that?
forest.
Like, this zesty pose. Let me
Backstory.
show it again.
King,
Like, look
aka
at,
Harlequin, is
like, I don't think he shows the entire frame. Look at the face. This is just sadistic. Like, bro, it's like he looks turned on stabbing this dude. He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, look at the way he's talking to him. The lips, the frame, the posture. Zesty. Bro, King and Diane would have been perfectly fine if they got rid of all the backstory between King and Diane. Let's just say they were in the 7 deadly sins and they just so happened to find each other attractive. That would have been a perfect relationship in 7 deadly sins.
the fairy king.
The only good one.
Protector of the forest and his people, till one day, after failing to stop his friends from being mutilated, he got hit in the head, dumped in a river, and developed a case of convenient amnesia. This show's
Running
favorite
theme.
plot device. A very young Diane picked his about-to-be corpse out of the stream, nursing him back to health. But thanks to the plot-selected amnesia, he didn't realize he had to go stop his friends or return to the forest. So instead, he decided to spend the next 500 years hanging out with a child that would become his bride.
500
playing games with
years
her, cooking
hanging
her
out with a
meals,
child.
helping her when she was sick, even making her new clothes when her old ones came off.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering, yes, naked children are very common in the story.
Yep, in the
It's a
manga, they're
choice.
written out in the panel. Very written out in the panel. I forgot about that. If you read Seven Deadly Sins, let's just say it is EDP's playground. Let's just say Diddy and Epstein would have a field day. It is like you are in Diddy's playground. That's exactly what I'm gonna call it. That's what I'm gonna call this the rest of the anime. I might even make that the title. Diddy's playground.
Like it's a choice to make King functionally an adult/teen while falling in love with Diane. He's
was
got
a
those
little
Peter
kid.
Pan genes. However, King doesn't change emotionally or maturity-wise. Normally, he is one of the more mature members of the Seven Deadly Sins, and he is at that same level here. This show had an out to make this a childhood romance, to make King a
No,
child
kids be
mentally so
kids.
that he is on the same level as Diane. That way, when they meet again, Diane isn't the only one who's radically changed, and King is just obsessed with his childhood crush instead of crushing on the fucking child that he spent 500 years playing house with, who, when told by Diane that she loves him and asks if he loves her too, is beet red, sweating bullets, and waiting for Chris Hansen to walk in. Because he knows the significance of telling someone you love them. He knows the romantic implications of what he's promising.
'Cause he's an
when
adult.
He says he'll always be by her side. King knows what he's saying. Well,
Exactly.
Diane is the little girl he has to love and protect till she's legal.
Ooh. Ooh. Yep. He didn't want to tell Deanne that he loved her because of the fact that he knew the implication behind it, which just says that he was on the verge of trying to groom her, but didn't want to go all the way through because of a small moral compass. This is like seeing a 17-year-old, not 17, like a 17-year-old girl. You're like a 24-year-old. I wouldn't really care, honestly, because 17 is basically whatever. But this is like being an adult, and you see a 17-year-old, and they want to go all the way. And you guys have been in an emotional relationship. You talk with them and everything, but you don't want to go all the way because it would make you seem like a pedo. Yeah, it would make you seem like a pedo, and you don't, and you're like, I don't want to be a pedo. You just want to groom and act like one, but you don't want to go all the way and, go the full 9 yards. It's really just drawing on that line.
The only reason that King ever leaves her is because he has to go kill his mass-murdering best friend without even trying to talk it over. King has the emotional maturity to kill his friend and then surrender to the authorities to be punished for negligence, but not before going back to erase Diane's memories of his existence. Because she's just a child, and he's grown up enough to make the choice for her. People can debate the physical versus emotional maturity thing, but it's all very much a moot point. Diane has a trajectory of not growing for 500 years, then having a random growth spurt as soon as he's gone. As this art style has no teen body type, you are literally a chibi toddler or you're an adult. There's no
teen.
between.
There's no
King
teen.
is the closest we get. King gets a power-up later down the road where
Which
he
is
becomes
full
Elvis,
adult.
but nothing about King ever changes internally. He is not some ethereal, ageless being. He
Dang,
knows
look at
everything
Gother.
that he's saying, and the
Beat up
story
his shit.
could have made any other decision with him. It's not grooming, but the show, in both instances here, really loves playing chicken with the idea that it is. King's feelings for Diane were romantic and started here. Diane's feelings, we would later find out, also started here when she was a little girl, and due to the memory loss, she projected those feelings onto Meliodas. They could have just made this a childhood romance had King act a little younger.
Or just never
But-
added this in the first
But
place.
at the very least, neither of them look like children anymore, which is more than I can say for Elaine.
Bond.
What's up, little girl? Are you lost or something?
Yeah,
This is,
that's the worst
this
part.
is the best love story in Seven Deadly Sins. No contest. Bond is best boy. Elaine is a fucking child, though. A few decades before the story started, a 20-ish Bond tried to steal the Fountain of Youth. His life sucked, lots of dead family, and he hoped immortality would give him enough time to have something positive happen. Unfortunately for him, the
real.
Fountain had a guardian, King's sister Elaine. Now yes, Elaine is a fairy and over 1,000 years old, but she also canonically has the body of an 11-year-old.
Yep.
This is not
Remember,
stylization exaggeration.
they drew her 11-year-old body, which was implied in the anime that she looked like a child. In the manga, she was drawn naked multiple times. Remember that.
Or some other excuse. She looks like a child in story, and they bang. The coolest character in the show, and they made him a pedophile with extra steps. I hate this. I hate that Bond and Elaine have easily the best love story here.
Yep, they
Yet
have
we
the
to
best
constantly ignore the tiny
relationship,
elephant in the room. Bond's
and it's
entire
still
character
bad.
motivation was to find a way to bring back the love of his life. As after the two fell in love, she died, sacrificing herself to save him, setting him on a quest to find a way to bring her back from the dead. This man literally strolled into the afterlife just to tell his girl he's gonna steal her back. Everything Bond does is gold, but we have to pretend that she doesn't look like his daughter sitting in his
that's
lap. Like the copium is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's only the best because everybody in our brains, we all know she's older than 11 years old. She doesn't act like an 11-year-old. Like the story only fits because of the fact that everything is fine with it, but the way she looks. She looks like a child. She looks like a child. Everything else is fine though. So, I guess let's stroll past it.
People are arguing that it isn't that bad, that Bond is just 6'11 and she's short. When first off,
Molascula is fine as
are
fuck.
bullshit. Always have and always
So
will.
is Merlin.
Those info books are lying when they say that Goku is the same height and weight as Bruce Lee. Just like it's lying when they say Elaine is 4'11 when she barely comes up to Bond's pants.
Yep, not even
Bond
close
would
to
have to
4'11.
be 9 or 10 feet tall for this match.
And look
to
at
work out.
Jericho's cake.
So that listed 4'11 height is just a lie.
She's
to
like
make this sound better
3
on paper.
foot
But
max.
anyone with eyes can tell that this
Like
doesn't
3'5".
look right. Elaine isn't petite. She's not the average height for women in Japan.
No.
She just looks 11, if not younger.
Just because
Bond
she
first
can.
meets her, he mistakes her for a child. And she didn't have to be drawn this way. She could have been drawn to look closer to a teen like King, or just have been an adult. But no, we really gotta make
And
this
just wait
look
for it,
as
'cause I'm pretty sure he
accurate as
covers it.
possible to a grown man dating a child, because that's just this show's kink. Meliodas isn't a manlet, he's child-sized. And everything about Bond's appearance only makes this worse.
Because he
And
looks
they-
so
oh my
mature.
God, they had an out here. Because guess what?
Yep.
Fairies are shapeshifters. They can make themselves look older. King did it all the time and didn't even let his friends know his real appearance for years. Elaine has all the same powers, but never uses them. This was a literal get out of jail free card.
Yeah,
Just
all she had to
sitting
do was
there,
just shapeshift to
and
look
they
older.
just decided, nah. They want Elaine to stay a grade schooler. Then it happens again. When she gets wings.
Yep.
Which, in fairy terms,
Which is
means
supposed
that
to
they're
be an
aging.
out.
When King got his, he went from a Peter Pan to Peter Man. Yet when Elaine got him,
All it
barely
did was
a
grow out her
difference.
hair.
She's still tiny, still childlike, and anyone who calls this a major change needs to get their eyes checked. And in no world does she's a
Oh,
12-year-old but looks 11 hold up. Maybe because outside of the fact that this is fiction,
Oh, my
it is a
stomach started to
creative
kill me.
choice to make Elaine look as young as she is. Just like everything in the story. If they want to make fairies look just eternally youthful, they could have done that. If they want to make elves just have this ethereal beauty, they could have done that. If they want fairies to look alien,
What's crazy
they
is
could
they
have
make
done
her
that.
look
But
even
instead,
younger in the
design that they
manga.
went with was make all
Just
the regular
because.
fairies chibi sprites, except for the main ones who just have to look like children, who all start dating other ageless beings, but those beings get to look like adults. But
Terrible.
Elaine doesn't. And we're just gonna ignore the whole legal-looking option with Jericho. But no.
Oh my
we
God.
have to pick the one that needs an asterisk next to it at all times. As far as couples go, this isn't even rock bottom. This is Gauther.
Yep.
He's an androgynous living doll. with
Let's
the
not
power
even
to
talk about
manipulate
Gauther.
people's memories. He's also a bit of a psychopath, interacting with the world the same way a machine would. This Tin Man is obsessed with gaining a heart and understanding human emotions. He wasn't always like this, though. Around 45 years before the story starts, Gauther, lost in the catacombs beneath the castle,
With
was
amnesia.
discovered by Elizabeth's dad when he was a kid. Back then, Gauther actually had emotions, and grew close to the king's sister, who was dying of a heart defect. They banged. She died in her sleep. And Gowther, not realizing his heart was symbolic, ripped open her chest, trying to put his own into hers.
Ooh.
Did it
Yep.
work? And then the guards walked in. The man was caught naked, standing over the princess's bloody corpse. They had
With her
more than
cavity
enough
ripped wide
evidence
open.
to charge him with what he allegedly did, branding him the sin of lust. While Gowther was so distraught after losing his love, he erased his own mind to escape the pain, leaving him the emotions-obsessed robot that he is at the start. And then Gowther commits the crime he was falsely accused of. Now, Gowther's power is that he can manipulate and alter people's memories. He can erase and create new ones. He can do just about anything to fuck with people's heads. Sometimes he uses this power for the greater good, manipulates enemies so that they don't have to physically hurt them, with the effect only being temporary. Other times, he abuses his power, like what he did to Gila.
So bad.
Introduced as an antagonist, a member of the new generation of Holy Knights who had their powers augmented by consuming demon blood, she, on multiple occasions, tried to kill the Sins, believing them to be evil and her own side righteous, as she would do anything to protect her little brother Zeal, who was her only remaining family member.
Because she had no mom, no dad. They were all gone.
Who triggered the blood to go out of control, turning all of his subordinates into demonic flesh monstrosities, requiring Bond to rip the demon hearts out of their bodies, stripping them of their magic power in the process. Except for Gila, as she was saved instead by Gowther using his powers. Then, to everyone's shock, Gowther and Gila started dating when the dust settled. The thing is, though, this wasn't a "you saved my life" romance.
Yeah, it wasn't a
This was
conventional
Gowther using
relationship.
his powers to force her to love him. As when he initially used his powers on her, he erased most of her traumatic memories related to her father, as that trauma was the source of her emotional instability that the demonic powers would use to drive her crazy. However, on top of erasing those memories, he inserted new ones as well, making her believe that Gowther was her childhood friend and fiancé. Then, just to completely isolate her so that she could only rely on him, Gowther removed her memories of her brother, who was her whole world at this point.
Left her brother completely out of her life.
As a test subject to study love and its effects on people. He desperately wanted to understand human emotions, so he stripped Gila of her autonomy, forced her to date him, with a show.
And that smile is
all
terrible.
but confirming that the two had sex. This is implied by a panel in the manga where, while Gowther has his shirt on at least, they're in bed with the curtains closed and seem to be in the process of making out. This was removed from the anime.
Thankfully.
But they didn't remove all references to this
At all.
After Gowther has been defeated and forced to give Gila back her memories and apologize, he specifically apologizes for, and the translation does differ. Some groups say he apologized for staining her. Defiling her is used in another, with the official
urge to
going for the
understand
slightly
love.
less obvious disgracing her, with the actual scene itself implying that he isn't referring to disgracing her free will. As we have panels of Elizabeth and Diane blushing at the implication of said phrasing, with Gila also heavily blushing at the memory, which leans into the fact that Gowther did something that was sexual in nature, and in a very telling move, much like Elaine's just
don't
being
stop.
naked,
Yes.
the anime omits and censors some of this. The show cuts the implied sex scene, it cuts all the blushing, as if realizing that all of this already
Looks really bad.
Having them blush would only draw extra attention to the fact that Gowther is a fucking rapist. This is not confirmed. But Gowther forced Gila to become his girlfriend and to try and experience love, to learn more about it. So it is not
and
beyond
then
the realm of
let them know the
reason,
last part,
physical part of dating
the
would
best
also
part.
be explored. For science. And Gila thanks him for it. Oh yeah, she thanked Gowther for manipulating her memories, for assaulting her, saying he saved her, blaming herself for being too weak to resist the demon's blood.
She thanked him for leaving her little brother, probably homeless, erasing all of her memories, using her to satisfy his urges, and she thanked him. I don't even have to say anything. Like that entire sequence speaks for itself of how crazy this anime is. And it doesn't even go just to the anime. It goes past the anime into the manga, if I'm not mistaken with this video. So I'll let it play. Let it play.
Is her boss manipulating her into drinking it, preying on her desperate need for power to protect her brother. All of that just her fault. That after the bad things she did when she was a villain, and how despite all of that, Gowther still saved her anyway. So she thanks him for it.
No,
thanks
that's
him
not
for screwing with her head, as that unearthed memories of her father. Now she can remember his face more clearly. So at the end of
That's
the day,
not
he
good.
just did her a solid.
That no.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
This is canon. Gowther abused his powers, forced Gila to date him, erased her memories of her brother, erased her brother's memories, leaving him homeless.
Yep.
Most
I didn't even.
likely.
He erased her little brother's memories. I didn't know that. That's wild. That boy is probably under the age of 10, probably pushing 7 years old. And he erased all of her little brother's memories.
Sexually assaulted her, and the story has her thank him for it. Because even in a situation everyone in the show agrees is wrong, the story still feels the need to semi-absolve Gowther of guilt, to put a nice little bow on Gila's character before
not
writing
even
her out
close.
of the story. So it glosses over what Gowther might have did to go back to making him a sad whoopee later. The show could have kept the same situation without the implied assault, and it still would have been just as screwed up and gone across the point that Gowther is unstable. It would
Absolutely.
have been
He didn't even need to go all that.
simple. And I just want to say that the idea that the show is so blasé in the aftermath is a sign that nothing happened means nothing to me, as this is the same show that treats Elizabeth getting molested as a gag, so I don't have any confidence in it.
Not
Especially
even
when they can
close.
just
Not even a
sweep the
little
whole
bit.
incident
Very
under
bad.
the rug and not talk about it, as dwelling on what Gowther did would turn the audience against him when he is supposed to be one of the good guys.
They should turn
So
against him.
Gowther
It's
got
very
a
much
pass.
deserved.
Okay, enough about the goat sin of lust. Let's talk about the real goat.
Oh.
Escanor and Merlin are fine. They don't actually get together, but this dude practically carries the show after season 1.
I'm saying,
so I owe him
he puts
for
it on
that.
his back.
Escanor is a human with sun-based powers, growing more powerful the closer it is to noon. Merlin is a sorceress, beautiful
Sexy.
but sketchy. Escanor is head over heels in love with Merlin.
Who
and she was
isn't?
the first person he met that didn't treat him like a monster. Escanor was utterly devoted to her, even though he realized that she wouldn't love him back. At least, not in the way he wanted to be loved. She's also too busy grooming a 16-year-old to rule. But when he saved everyone, in his final moments, Merlin gave him a kiss goodbye, letting his fire burn and scar her. A permanent reminder of kissing the sun and the proud man who wielded it. And finally, do we have a ship that isn't problematic?
Nope. Sadly.
So that's your true form, I take it?
Oh, god damn it. So Merlin is a child. She's 3,000 years old and stopped aging when she was 12. She tricked God and the devil into giving her immortality, amongst other blessings, which is badass.
It is crazy.
But this, we
Yep.
knew she was way older than she looked. Her being 3,000 years old was not a problem, since her and Escanor both met when they were adults.
Perfectly
But
fine.
Merlin
Her true
is
form.
physically a child.
Yes.
She makes herself look like an adult with magic, meaning that this show has another immortal child, which I get it. The series has made the 7 Deadly Sins not looking like their wanted posters a running gag.
Bro,
But this,
you know, the Not Like Us, the cover, I'll probably put it right there with all the, that is the 7 Deadly Sins. Like that is exactly the 7 Deadly Sins. You just put all of their pictures on those tags. They got the 7 Deadly Sins in the OVO house. I can't wait to edit this. This is gonna look so stupid.
brings home how outside of Gowther, every member of the 7 Deadly Sins is either dating a child, fell in love with a child, or looks like one.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the theme. There is
Every ship,
so
every
much
relationship.
pedo bait in this show that they might as well change the name. It makes up every excuse that it can for why none of this is bad. But every decision here is a choice by the creator.
By the
If
writer.
he wanted, he could have written all of this out.
Absolutely.
All the young ages, all the young appearances, all the naked children. He could have wrote situations that didn't involve a man molesting a girl he's known since she was born. He could have done anything with this series. Yet the choice he always came back to was adults falling in love with children. As you can make excuses for characters
adult on
in a
children
certain
love.
situation like King and Diane, but you also have to question why the author wrote this situation like that in
And
the
why
first
he
place.
wrote the characters
series is
constantly
over.
naked.
Could have ended 80 chapters earlier, but it is over. Happy endings all around. Everyone's got kids.
Now,
and
Knights of
thankfully
Catastrophe.
No one is trying to diddle them.
No. Wait.
Oh, kill me. So Seven Deadly Sins got a sequel, Four Nights of the Apocalypse. It's about the next generation of heroes,
kids
despite
of
all
these-
the originals being immortal and still in their prime.
Yes.
With all the new characters being immediately on par with their parents, as
Terrible
the anime escalation
writing right
probably
there.
drove the stakes of the series way too high to scale back now. Honestly though, this show getting a Boruto-style sequel is kind of perfect, as the show has only 8 faces for main characters, so it's truly anyone's guess who is related to who. With one of the new main characters being Bond and Elaine's son, Lancelot.
Terrible
This
name.
kid has a pretty interesting backstory. He's the first
Most
half
adult
fairy
Elaine will ever
born,
look.
was raised in the fairy forest with his family, was trained in part by Jericho, who went from trying to date Bond to a close family friend and Lancelot's mentor. But the two of them disappeared one day through an invisible door. Lance would return 3 years later, but what happened to Jericho remained a mystery. And after we found out, I think she should have stayed gone, as the villain turned hero came back as a villain. Her
Yep.
crime? Trying to rob the cradle.
Yes.
Jericho is in love with Lancelot. She couldn't get the father, so now she's wants
getting the
son.
son.
With her motivation for siding with the antagonist being that he'll grant her a perfect world where they're the same age and he's down to fuck her. Because Jericho knows Lancelot only sees her as a mentor and a big sister, when she wants more. This is character assassination, and I pray
Yes.
it's revealed that she is brainwashed.
Because Jericho is the best written character in the entire series. Jericho was so fleshed out. She went from side character to antagonist to just to back to side character, which was a great side character. She had an entire little story. She was so great. She was probably the best written character in the series. And then sequel, True Colors came out, I guess. And yeah, lovely.
As Jericho is easily the best female character that isn't a member of the Sins. She has a massive amount of character growth, from hiding her gender out of fear of being seen as weak, to embracing it when she gets power through the demon blood, only to lose that power and her place in the world, and falling for Bond, becoming his wing woman, as she is the one who forces Elaine to come back to her senses when she is brainwashed. She ends up losing her brother but inheriting his heist powers, and from then on strove to become the best that she could to be worthy of his legacy and to save the world. Jericho
I know, crazy.
is great. So for
Absolutely.
her to pop back into the sequel, announce that she's in love with Lancelot, that she fell in love with him when he was 10, that the reason she left him was because she couldn't hide her feelings from a mind reader, I hate it. But it just falls back into the same pattern as the rest of the series. It does make me laugh though. Just the hypothetical scenario that Lancelot runs to his dad and tells him an adult is hitting on me.
Yeah.
And expect to have Bond to have any other reaction than cool.
Yeah,
Bond
Bond would
can't
probably
say
just be
shit.
chill.
His uncle
Bond-
can't say shit, and his godfather invented the waiting game.
Yep.
But suddenly, now because a villain is doing it, we're supposed to be disturbed.
Shit, no, not even
Quick editor
close.
note. I just remembered this whole other villain that was obsessed with getting her own 11-year-old.
Yep.
Vivian was trying to date Gil Thunder, holding his real love hostage. Doesn't get it in, of course.
Not
So
at all.
We have 2 women preying on younger men, and it's immediately treated as villainous. But when it's with little girls, we're just gonna roll with it. Seriously, what the fuck is this creator on? Why
Crack.
does this have to be a recurring thing?
It's
throughout
forget recurring.
the
It's
entire
it's the
series?
entire
Like,
theme.
there's so many
That's the
anime
plot.
that sexualizes teenagers, but this is the only one where adults are falling in love with teenagers and dating them across the board. And Lancelot isn't even winning in his actual love life, as a 12-year-old that looks like she's a toddler waltzes up to him and kisses him on the lips and announcing that she's seen the future and they're destined to become lovers. Say hello to Guinevere, everyone. A dream come true for pedophiles everywhere.
Yep.
She's a child who tells our character insert that it's his destiny to bang her and is trying to be flirty despite being 12 years old. Announcing that when
Even
he's
worse.
20, she'll be 16 and it will totally be legal. Also, she was drawn in the nude in a cover page with 2 other legal minors.
Yep.
You can only see her head and shoulders. That distinction is going to be lost by the FBI. Nanatsu no Taizai has a ton of great moments, but it dabbles way too much in borderline pedo crap for me
Not
to
dabbles
recommend.
on the line.
It's blasé
it
approach to
draws
what
on the
Meliodas
line,
does
passes
rubs
it.
me the wrong way. King and Diane could have been fine, but King is
Yes.
basically an adult who fell in love with a child. Elaine's design speaks for itself. Gauther did what he did, and I'm just so done with all of it. Shonen anime is historically terrible at
Writing romance, absolutely.
The fact that the
Some of
one
the
that
worst.
dabbles so heavily in it turned out to be this makes me think they might as well not bother. Okay, subscribe to my channel for shipping and rant videos. Share this one to bring an even bigger shit show to my comments. Follow and yell at me on Twitter. Chorus Sarcastic. Thank you. Goodbye.
I would listen to that last word, but then it'll go to the next video. See, this is exactly why I could never do 7 Deadly Sins. I just, like, I remember rewatching it, and I was just like, this is weird. I remember my friend, I was talking about 7 Deadly Sins because we were talking about anime characters that were really hot, and she was like, Bon is really hot. It's only, you know, stinks that he literally likes 6-year-old little kids. And I was like, yeah. But in anime, I guess technically she's 1,300 years old, so I'm not gonna speak for too much longer because I literally have a terrible stomachache that's bothering me to life and death. It was cool for the first 20 minutes, and then it just hit me like a truck. It's been bothering me all day. So if you guys enjoyed, I hope you guys like and subscribe. I'm gonna try and get some more of these anime reactions because it's been a while. I think it's been like 2 months, and I was supposed to get one every month, maybe even 3 months. Sorry. Bye, guys. I'm gonna go to the bathroom.